Good morning. Again, my name is Rhonda Devine, and I'm with the Division of District Support. And with me today, I have Josh Whitlow and Samantha Engstrom, and then Laura Lohman will be speaking about growth factor after the break. So the biggest thing that we have going on right now, we have a new student health branch, and Jim Tackett is our manager. Angie McDonald will still be our nurse consultant, but she'll be in this new branch along with Tanya Hickman. And we also plan on expanding the branch once we get things started. And you can find any latest information on our website, and the link is provided at the bottom of this slide. We also have attendance clerk training. We've got that set up across the state, and we have the times listed. So we hope that you'll join us. They'll be in sessions for morning sessions and then afternoon, and Josh will be leading those. And our first one will be here in Frankfort. And there is the list of the trainings that he has set up. And you can also email Josh if you have any questions. We also have attendance review trainings for districts that are going to be audited. We also have other districts that may even just want to attend, because we do go over the attendance review form. And on the form, it really looks at all of the different things that should be happening monthly. So it's a great training opportunity. And we have many sessions set up. This is the list of the Eastern region. But if you are not able to come to one of those trainings, you can go to a training in a different region. But it is helpful if you go to the region where you live, then you'll be able to have a one-on-one opportunity with the field staff. And we have Central region, and then that will be Becky Walsh. She's our newest field representative, and then Western region as well. So these are new. Sasha Reinhardt started last year. So these are new trainings, and they were very helpful during our audit season. The biggest thing we wanted to mention for School for the Deaf, School for the Blind, is that you don't have to, but you can track your students, and you would put them in as a secondary enrollment. The students do not have a schedule or attendance, and the transportation is through that transportation reimbursement. And also the primary district where they reside, they must be included in that student's ARC meeting. And now I'm going to take it, Josh, let Josh have control, and thank you again.
Good morning, everyone. Like Rhonda said, my name is Josh Whitlow. I'm with the Office of Finance and Operation and Division of District Support. Just want to go over a few attendance reminders. Even though we are doing the attendance clerk training, just want to give a couple reminders just in case the ones that are not able to make it to the training. Just the attendance requirements. Remember KRS 161200. It states that all teachers are required to take attendance. Elementary level, you're taking attendance at the beginning of the school day. And then the middle school and high school teachers, you're required to take attendance throughout the day for each class period. Excuse me. Also, the check-in, check-out, that is going to be maintained in the front office. Your attendance clerks there should be in charge of that. Quick reminder on that. We do recommend that the attendance clerks fill that information out just so you can read your own handwriting, basically. Last year when we was doing attendance audits, that is one thing that we did come across, that it was hard to read those and the times were off. So just quick reminder there on that. The no-show report, just a reminder that If the student does not show up for the first day of school, you are required to mark them as NS, no show. And if they come in the next day, we ask that make sure you do not delete that enrollment. You just start the new enrollment the day they come in with the CO or EO1. I'm sorry. There is guidance listed. We have just posted those data standards on the data standard page, and at the bottom you'll see the no-show guidance, and it has different scenarios. We're already getting questions now about districts or students that are leaving during the summer. What do you do? So all that information is in the no-show guidance at the bottom. Check-in, check-out, and withdrawal codes. Again, we just covered that. Maintain in the front office your sign-in, sign-out sheets. You can have the paper log or electronic signatures as well, but make sure that you are able to see that signature at any time when you do pull that up. Or if we come into your audit, we will want to see that there is a signature on that line with the student being checked out. Withdrawal codes, again, make sure that they have the correct end status when you're withdrawing them to another district, or if they're leaving to go to homeschool or something like that. Make sure that you look at the pupil attendance manual. That's going to be posted very soon. We're in the final stages of getting that approved here at KDE. And of course, the data enrollment data standard. That's already been approved and posted online. Transportation codes, that is a biggie. Last year during our audits, we did find a lot of mistakes on that. So just make sure that you're looking through those. We actually have a meeting and training this afternoon after this session with some transportation directors, and we will be going over to show them how important the transportation codes are. So you may be getting questions for them to making sure when we start showing them the reports that we're going to be showing them, they may come to you and say, hey, can we pull this report and look at it? So just make sure that you're looking at that. Remember your virtual students, they will have an NT because you're not going to be transporting them to and from school. So make sure that those are NT. And make sure that you are looking at these twice a year. It's a recommendation on that. Just we always recommend beginning of school, and then when you come into the second semester that you just ask your students, hey, are you still riding a bus? Have you had an address change? Just so that we at KDE want to make sure that you are getting the maximum funding. Child of district employee, again, we are asking that you make sure that that is correct. One thing we did see during our audits is if you have a student that lives inside your district, we do not want you to put the CDE flag on them. These are only students that live outside your district that we want to see the CDE flag on. It's very simple. You'll just go into each student's profile, and you're going to click on the flags there, and you're going to do the start date when the school starts or when they enroll into your district. The flags will be CDE, child or district employee, and then you'll just click save. So it's really simple to do that. Partial day and partial week. We've had a lot of questions on that during our audits, and we're actually getting a lot of questions now. So a partial day and partial week, that partial day is an attendance code, and a partial week is an attendance. Sorry, I had that backwards. A partial day is an attendance group, and a partial week is an attendance code. Just make sure that that is in the student's IEP, because that is one thing that we do check, and we do check every one of those when we're doing the audits. We go through every one of those to make sure that it's in the IEP and that your board has approved it, because that does have to be approved by your Board of Education before you can actually put those into the system. It does take a little longer once you send those. Your special ed director will send those into KDE in the Office of Special Education. But once you have the date from the IEP and your Board of Education has approved it, you can go ahead and put that in there, and that we will take that. Again, we have the data standard at the bottom. Partial week, partial day, full funding, attendance tracking. Click on that, and you can go through if you have any questions on that. Again, there's just a screenshot there, student information, attendance group, and then you're going to click on PAR, partial day. You'll do the start date, and that's what goes in what's coming from the IEP. And it's going to ask for the start and end time. And then at the bottom, it's a little box. When you click save, it says, please verify that it does match the student's IEP. That is what we call the KDE warning, because we want to make sure that you're going back to looking to make sure that it matches. Because when we come into the audit, if it doesn't match, that's what we call a write-up, and we will make sure that you get that corrected. Again, it's partial weeks the same way. Make sure you're doing the attendance code on that PW.
Josh, I have a quick question that came in, if
Yes.
you don't mind me interrupting.
No, you're good.
Can you select the full funding waiver checkbox for partial day and partial week students if it is only partial day? Or is it
If it
only
is, if you can select it for both, as long as it is stated in the student's IEP. It has to be in the IEP for you to be able to check the full funding checkbox.
Okay.
And if the student doesn't have an IEP, it's not even going to show up on the enrollment tab down at the bottom. So it has to say active, and then the full funding checkbox comes up.
All right. So I did, only other questions not related to yours. We've had a few people say they don't have the slides. They should have gotten the slides, a link to the slides by email. Linda's working on this right now. And so watch that social Q&A. She'll probably add the link there as a reply. So if they can't find the email, they'll be able to access it there too.
Okay.
All right. Sorry about the interruption.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So another thing that we will be covering in the attendance clerk training as well is the state mapped attendance codes. We had a lot of questions last year during the attendance clerk training and during our audits. We will go through and look at the state mapped attendance codes. We want to make sure that those are mapped correctly. Our field staff do look at each one of those to make sure that the state ones are matching. And we also look at the ones that are marked for exempt as well, because we want to make sure that you're using those correctly. A lot of times we do see some that should not be in the system. So we will look at those. So you can go ahead and look at those. They are in the system admin data standard, and they are posted in the pupil attendance manual as well. To get to those, it's under system admin, attendance and attendance codes, and it's by school. So you can go through and look at each school to make sure that those are set up correctly before our field staff come in. And if we do desk audits or something like that, we do check those.
So we have a question.
Yes.
Do we have to use the attendance codes and have the checkbox on the enrollment tab?
Say that again.
Do we have to use the attendance codes and have the checkbox on the enrollment tab?
If you're wanting if you want funding for that student, yes. If you don't want the funding, you don't have to. But if you use unexcused or excused, that's going against the student's attendance. So if it's in the IEP, we want to give you full funding for that student, even though that student is not there.
One more. I've found language in the data standards that does not specify exactly that partial day students must have an IEP. Do partial day students have to have an IEP?
So that gets into what we're covering is the full funding students. You would have to check with your board attorney and your board of education, because again, that goes into compulsory attendance. So if that student is not there, you're going against those rules and regulations that state that student must be in school. That did come across a couple weeks ago. We had a district to call us on that. And we went to our policy advisor, and he did say, you need to check with your board attorney and your board of education, because that could go against compulsory attendance.
Okay, I'm going to hold the questions. So keep entering questions. I might hold them because I want to make sure you get through all your material.
Okay. So release 2323 that just came out, I think it was last week. This is a new home hospital validation report. This is something new. As we were in the field doing the attendance audits, I will say our whole staff from Division of District Support under student tracking, we were all on hands on deck just because we had 3 brand new field staff. So myself, Rhonda, and Jesse Carlton, we were all in the field assisting with those. And this was something that we came across that we were seeing a lot of issues with. So this is something that we worked with Dee Dee's group, Jennifer Winburn. She sat right beside me and we worked side by side on this. And this is one of those reports that I'm very excited about. It's going to be under Kentucky State Reporting, KDE reports, and then home hospital validation. So there is 2 reports inside this one report. There's going to be 2 radio buttons. The first one is going to be student detail, and the other one is going to be attendance errors. So on the first one, we also have the QRC there listed, and it goes into detail more than what I'm going to go into. So when you look at that detail report, this report, if you look at the top, it's going to be column R plus column S is going to equal your column P. So it's basically your attendance, home hospital attendance codes plus your total absent attendance that's not HH, and it's going to equal your total attendance home hospital attendance group. I know it's a little off there, but if you see there in the beginning, you will see pointing at my screen like you all can see what I'm pointing at. I'm sorry. But you're going to add your column R and your column S, and it's going to equal your column P. Also in this report, you will see the home hospital attendance group number of months. Remember, after the 6th month, you have to have that second doctor signature. So that highlights saying, hey, make sure that that student has the second signature. When we come in to start doing our reports, this is a report that we will be running very often here at KDE just to make sure that everyone is compliant with home hospital. Also in column T there, you see the T code while on home hospital attendance group. Again, reminder, you cannot have a transportation code while they are on the attendance or home hospital. Let's look at the next report. The error report. So this report is looking for any student that has a home hospital attendance code that is outside of the home hospital attendance group. So there in the red square, you will see that the student on 3.7, 3.8, 3.9, and 3.10, they are outside of the home hospital attendance group. So more than likely that home hospital started on 3.11 on the home hospital attendance group, but you also started home hospital on 3.7 with the attendance code. So that's just an error saying, hey, we need to either change the attendance group or the attendance code on that. And then there in the blue square at the bottom, this student did not have an home hospital attendance group at all. The attendance clerk went in and accidentally clicked on home hospital. So this is just one of those reports that I think it's going to be very beneficial to DPPs and your home hospital coordinators that are in charge of home hospital. I know I wish when I was in the district that I had this because I was in charge of home hospital. Jen, I know you're on the call. Did I leave anything out on this?
No, you did a good justice. Yay.
All right. I will say that this is one of those reports that we're very proud of and has come together. So if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email and we can discuss it. I know there's no data in the system right now because home hospital is not started yet for your schools. But as you start working through and school starts and you start pulling this report, feel free to give me a call and we will work through if you have any questions on that. I think I'm done on my part for right now, and I'm going to turn it over to Sam.
Hey, thanks, Josh. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to be discussing duplicate student records and FRAM, just a few things for both. So students are assigned SSIDs when they are enrolled in a district. Duplicate SSIDs sometimes can come up if you don't use the locator. When enrolling a student, you should always use the locator because, for example, you might have a student that came in from another state and you think that this is their first enrollment in Kentucky because they've only told you that they've been in, say, Tennessee. They're coming from Tennessee. So you enroll the student, you give them a new number, and now they have 2 records in the system for the same student. And in that case, if it's in 2 different districts, you would contact me. If the district re-enrolls a student in their district and they've already had that student before, if someone doesn't use the locator, you would end up with 2 records for your district. In that case, the district itself would have to correct the issue. I mean, I can't stress enough how much the student locator, even if you think the student's never been in Kentucky, still use the student locator. Just always use the student locator. Train new clerks to always use the locator. One of the tips I always like to tell people, if you search for a student and they're not coming up and you know they've been in there, you know there should be a record for them, search a different gender, say they're a female, and sometimes people misclick and save and don't realize it, so the student is in there with a different gender, and it happens very often. So someone will create a new record, so now there's 2 records in there with 2 different genders. So that's just a tip. If, once again, if you know a student has been enrolled in a Kentucky school, for a fact you know it, and you're still not finding them, just stop, don't enroll them. You can contact me and I will help you see if I can find the student, because sometimes records are harder to find than you would think sometimes, but just use the locator. And if you can't find the student, just contact me. I would be happy to help. Again, if there is a duplicate in your district, you need to use the combine person tool to combine the records. And if there's duplicates across multiple districts, sometimes you might not be aware that there's a duplicate. Sometimes you might see that there's an overlap or something with another district. That would be a way for you to realize there might be a duplicate record out there in another district. You would contact me. You would also contact me if 2 students have been combined incorrectly. You would contact me. And when I say contact me in this sense for the split records or combining an SSID, you should go through the Google form that I created for last year, which there's a link on this PowerPoint right here that you could click on. It will send you to the Google form. You can also, in my email signature, there's a link to it, so it's easy to find from there. If you have other issues, just tech issues, obviously your WAPOC. You can contact the CAT service desk if there's connectivity issues. If you have a pending SSID, sometimes that comes up when you enroll a student and you have it for more than, say, 1 or 2 days. The pending is not going to be resolved on its own, and you're going to need to put in a ticket with IC and request that the student get an SSID. Sometimes, very rarely, students end up with ambiguous SSIDs. It just says ambiguous. So you would also put in a ticket for that. And if the student locator is not working as you expect it to work, you can also put in a ticket for that, for assistance. Okay. So few things about FRAM. Let me just switch here. We are going to be collecting the HIF data this year, just as we did last year. The HIFs should still be processed through the FRAM module on Infinite Campus, and you want to continue to upload your direct cert files monthly. HIF processing can be completed electronically through FRAM processing, NIC, but only if you are a full CEP district. And if you're full CEP, you haven't used friend processing yet, you'll need to contact Infinite Campus to get you set up to be able to use that. If you're a partial CEP, there are some options for you still to be able to use for a FRAM. You can create an online registration form that mimics the HIF with an electronic signature. You can create a custom form in a campus that can go through the parent portal and they can sign electronically there. You can create an online registration page to link where the parents can upload the form themselves. So you do have some options. It's not as good as the FRAM processing, obviously, but you do still have some options for you. So non-CEP districts required to complete the USDA forms to feed all students for the school year. All FRAM, the standard FRAM process will be in effect. Let's see. So the many districts have transitioned to a new statewide POS system, which is Heartland Mosaic. I'm sure you are already aware. If you have issues with that, you would need to contact Tim Cooper or Dale Collier. Those people, they would be able to help you with that side of things. For additional resources, we have a FRAM page. We have a CEP page on our website, and there's also a data standard for FRAM that goes through CEP and partial CEP and all that in detail. So this is all of our, for our branch, these are all the contact details for everybody in our branch. And that is all for me.
Okay, well, we have some questions for the team. So I will just start down the list. I think so I said, this one says, I apologize if this is a repetitive question. Does it have to specifically say the student qualifies for full funding in the IEP, or do the times alone qualify us to select the full funding checkbox?
No, it does not have to say that the student requires full funding. It just, if the student, if the ART says that the student only needs to be in school from this time to this time, or this many days because the student has to go to therapy or somewhere, that automatically tells us that the IEP is stating that they need to be full funded, because the ARC has approved and KDE has approved that as well, because you have to send in a waiver for that for the special ed office.
Okay. All right. And this is going to probably jump around because these keep jumping around for me too. So this might be more
good.
Are there any districts that are using the electronic option in IC Parent Portal? And this might be more of a question for the audience versus for you all. But
yeah.
That
is not something I'm aware of.
If there are, I just want, go ahead and respond. Even if you're in the Go Soapbox and think all you can do is enter questions, you can also reply. So respond back to that inquiry if you're a district that are using that. On the HH form, if a doctor states the students will be out for 2 months, but that changes, do we ask the doctor to update them? Or do we do that after 6 months?
So it depends on how long the student is going to be out. If it's going to be out a couple days to a week, then we say, no, you don't have to worry about the another doctor's signature. A lot of times the doctor will send in just kind of like on a script pad that they're going to be out an extra week, but we'll return the next day. But if it goes more than a week, we do say that the district needs to contact the doctor and say, okay, if it's going to be more than a week, we need another form filled out.
What if they come back earlier?
If they come back earlier, it's fine. You don't have to have a new form or anything like that. That's just saying that the doctor has allowed for 2 months, but the student came back within 6 weeks. That's totally fine. You'll just end date. When the student comes back, you're going to take that home hospital attendance group. You're going to end date when the student comes back and the attendance code as well.
So I found language in the data standard that does not specifically specify exactly that partial day students must have an IEP. Do partial days? Oh, we've already done this one, didn't we? Sorry.
Yeah.
ignore that.
But I will, Dee, I am going to comment on that again, but
Okay.
just make sure that they are checking with their board attorney and board of education, because they have to approve that, because again, you're going against compulsory attendance on that. So that's just something that you really need to make sure that districts are checking with their board attorney, because that is going to be a checkout. So that's going against their attendance
Truancy.
codes and stuff. Yes, and truancy.
All right. We have a Craft Academy question. I think it's already been answered in there, but I'll go ahead and say it for the group. We have a student going to the Craft Academy. Do we keep them enrolled or mark them no show? Do we get funding for them?
So I will be covering that in the virtual performance space, but I'll go ahead and answer it real fast. Yes, you will keep them enrolled. And then you'll give them a full schedule, but it's going to be that 960001 course code. And then once Craft says, hey, yes, they passed this course, and you can go in and pass that course, and you'll get the funding for that.
Okay. Would we be able to check full funding for a partial day student with a 504 plan?
No.
No.
They have to be, it has to be an active IEP.
Okay. What is the alternative attendance code we should use for students in behavior facility that are enrolled in for less than 5 days? If the student just marked as present, if we can't use HH?
So, yes, that's something that we'll have to work with Wendy on and her group. That is something that we actually are working on over the summer, that those new guidance sent out on that. But yes, you would still mark them present because they are in your building. I mean, they're still present, but not in your building. So yes, you would just, and you would have to note that somewhere. The attendance clerk will need to note that if something happens in your building safety-wise, that they don't have to count for that student.
Okay. Will the report pull special education students? Does the IEP trump the second doctor's note?
For the home hospital report,
Generally say, but I would assume so.
I'm assuming that's what they're talking about. Yes, the IEP always trumps the doctor's note. So yes.
So why are Kentucky districts not using IC food service?
I'm not actually sure. I haven't been, that's not my area necessarily, because Tim Cooper, those are the people that would know more about this. But I think there were just more capabilities that people wanted, and Heartland had that. So
I think there was an RFP that went out and for a statewide solution, and Mosaic was the winner of that, Heartland Mosaic.
Yeah.
For the FRAM import mapping, can we just change the dates on the map importing, or are we required to create all new mapping?
I will need to check on that.
If two counties share transportation for the school for the blind, can the district providing transportation claim the neighboring county for reimbursement?
I don't think so.
So I think, Rhonda, that's going to go on that special transportation form that comes to Crystal Smith.
I think Karen Conway is the point of contact for that.
Okay.
Why can't non-CPE schools, CEP schools, not receive direct certification information? What would that not impact student data information for the school?
Again, that's something that the food service people, that's their area. It's the FRAM is divided up in a weird kind of way. The food service people, or the nutrition division, has half of it, and we have the data side. So some of the answers I don't have, but I can find them out.
I think all districts get access to the direct certification information. What varies, and I'm a little itchy, what varies is that how you can use it. If you're a CEP school and you're like a full CEP district, there's things you can do and use parts of campus because every school in your district is the same.
Yes.
But if you're not a full CEP district, you can't do. So that's one, and that might not be what this question's about.
Yeah.
But all districts have access to rec certification information, and we ask that food service directors pull that information down at least monthly, because we want to make sure all the students that should be getting free lunch that are, that are eligible because of another qualifying program are getting that, and that information gets in the Infinite Campus system.
Yes, that's correct.
So if somebody wants to add a little bit, more clarity on that question, we'll try again. But I kind of added some things that I know about.
Yeah, I'll just check with a couple of people and see if there's anything else to add.
All right. Can you repeat the best procedures for students in a behavioral health facility for a short time, 2 to 3 days? Should we withdraw and re-enroll or use an attendance code? What about records transfer?
You may take it, Rhonda.
Well, that depends on if they have, if it's only for a couple of days, then no, they would just count the student absent at the district. Some districts, if it's more than 5 days, have an agreement that the district so if they're in Fayette County, then they would withdraw and then Fayette would pick them up for the time that they're at that school. And then when their program is done, they withdraw and they go back to their original district. But not all schools or facilities are set up that way. It really depends on the district where they're located. And so the district would have to then speak with that district to see if they have a program. If not, then they can do home hospital through telecommunications, electronic means, and put them on home hospital. So it just really depends on the setup where that facility is located.
But keep in mind, if it's home hospital, it has to be on day 6 or more.
Yes. The first 5 would be just an absentee.
And we're asked to repeat the answer to what is the attendance, alternate attendance code to use for students in a behavior facility that are enrolled for less than 5 days? Is the student marked as present if we can't use HH? And you all just covered that, but since that question came in.
So I think when I first started, I think I kind of got confused. I thought they were talking about going to I think it was behavior, what I had in my mind. So if it is going to a behavior facility that's not in your district, then you would count them absent, not present.
They're absent for the first 5 days. And then if they're going to be put on home hospital, then you'd have your paperwork signed and then it would start the 6th day. Unless they're coming back to the classroom, then it would just be absent for those 5 days.